Happy Global Entrepreneurship Week, North Texas. This week, November 17th through the 21st, you can participate in over 80 different events all around the Metroplex to celebrate our local entrepreneurs and learn more about how you can access resources for your company. Learn more at gewntx.org. That's gewntx.org. Welcome to Fort Worth Innovates, a show about innovation, research, entrepreneurship, and startups in Panther City. My name is Cameron Cushman, and I'm the host of this podcast that brings you the stories of the people that are putting our city on the map as a leader in innovation, with the help of the Fort Worth-Tarrant County Innovation Partnership. My guest today is Dylan Jones, the founder and CEO of Lyx Hydration for dogs. Dylan is a graduate of TCU and is an Air Force veteran. He built Lyx to solve a very simple problem for working dogs and pets, ensuring they have the right hydration levels. Lyx has developed what they call Gatorade for dogs that hydrates canines during those hot summer months, especially in Texas. Their Hydrolicious mix comes in both beef and chicken flavors and, mixed with coconut water, no additional ingredients. This is Dylan's second startup company in the animal health industry after he founded Animal Cloud that focused on health monitoring solutions for working horses and dogs based on battlefield cloud technology developed for the United States Air Force. Dylan, welcome to the Fort Worth Innovates podcast.
Thanks so much, Cameron, for having me on. I'm excited to be part of the Fort Worth Innovates podcast.
So I just gave the intro, but tell us what Lyx is and what problem that it solves in your own words.
Yeah, so Lyx is a powdered hydration mix developed with military research done with military working dogs. And it solves the problem of getting military dogs, which it was originally designed for, back to their water bowl to drink more water while they're out on the mission working hard. And we're taking that same exact benefit from military dogs and providing it for everyday pet parents in a convenient on-the-go stick pack.
Very cool. So tell me how Lyx works. What does it do?
Yeah, so it's a powdered pack. You could kind of think of it like liquid IV, but for your dog. You tear it open and you just simply mix it with their water. It's also a very popular food topper you can add on top of their food, or you could freeze it into ice cube treats for your dog. And it combines the natural occurring electrolytes within coconut water and different broths as flavoring into your dog's water bowl. So when they come back and they're drinking more water because they're encouraged to go to their water bowl because of the flavor, they're also getting more hydrated with every lick.
Very cool. Hence the name Lyx, right? I love
That's
that. So Dylan, I know you've been on a journey to help pets and service animals for years now, but can you give us a little bit of the backstory of how you actually started Lyx and how you knew it was going to become a thing?
So at one point in my life, I was a expert in military research, specifically in military working dog technology. So I was really at the tip of the spear on this very niche product or this subset of products that were going on, which is absolutely fascinating research that is happening. And what I discovered was an issue with these exceptional dogs. By the way, military dogs on average save 400 lives throughout their careers, right? They can jump out of airplanes, they can take down terrorists, they can find explosives. And what stood out to me was drinking a bowl of water was their challenge. It was challenging for them to get off the mission, working hard, and going back and drinking like a boring old bowl of water. They just wanted to be out there working. And so knowing how well trained these dogs are, I just sort of asked myself, what, by the way, my dog have issues with when it comes to hydration? Does he have problems with hydrations? And so that really started me on this journey of discovering if the best dogs in the world have these issues, what do household pets or pet parents have with their dog's hydrations? And that was sort of the genesis or the thesis behind the product and moving into this sort of white space in pet hydration.
Very cool. And I think you had a personal experience at home with your own dog, right? That kind of showed you that this was a good idea and that it was going to work.
Yeah, so I would basically take my dog on long walks together. We would play, we would do all these things, and I'd bring him home and I would want to see what would happen if I was kind of following the military research. So I'd bring him home, I'd put a water bowl right in front of him, and I would say just like drink up, Miller boy, drink up, and he wouldn't touch it. He would just want to lay on the cool tile, panting and trying to cool down. And then I would repeat the process. Like the next day I'd go out, we would go on a long walk, we would play, we would do all the stuff, and I'd bring him home and I would put a bowl in front of him. But this time I would follow the research and add different electrolytes and flavorings into his water. And he would hop up, he would go over to the bowl, he would lick it clean. His tail would start wagging. He would get all happy and excited and start barking around and basically telling me, hey, Dad, we need to go out and figure out if more dogs like the same things that I do. And so that's what we did. We took it to the farmer's market and began a journey of customer discovery and product testing.
Very cool. So I know that one of the early steps is that you raise money from Morrison Seeger, which is a local venture capital firm that Rogers Healy started, who's kind of a local celebrity here in the startup world in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I know that capital's been important to fueling the growth of Lix, but it also seems like you've gotten just as much benefit from their relationships, expertise, and mentorship than just from their investment dollars. Can you tell us about how your relationship with Morrison Seeger started and the impact that they have made on Lix?
Yeah, it started going back to the farmer's market. So I spent a year in customer discovery right here in Fort Worth, going to Fort Worth farmers markets every single weekend, basically with the question of, does anybody care about this? Is this a product people will buy? And as we started to get traction in the market, and I would go to more events, more farmers markets, get more sales, I would lose more money because I was selling it as a 12-ounce can of what I would call Gatorade for dogs. That was my hook to bring people in. And I learned that it was very expensive to ship water all over the country. So it wasn't a scalable idea, although I did see repeat customers come back every week. I had a customer list that I would email and people would purchase off my website. I opened up my own little fulfillment center and it was great, right? Other than just losing money every month. Like the idea was working. So what happened was I was at one of the final farmers markets right after my third daughter was born. And this was like maybe a week later. I was there. I had already committed to being there. And so like it was our third daughter. And I was just like, like we're ask my wife, "You're okay if I go, right? Like this is all right." And she was like, "Yeah, I'm a pro at this now." So took off, went to the farmer's market, was there just selling out the last of my inventory. I was working on my resume, thinking about where I was going to apply. I was trying to find stability for my growing family. And it must have been like by like a God thing that this man, David Deering, just kind of popped into my life, right? He just came out of nowhere. He was wearing a pink ball cap. He had pods in and was just asking me a lot of questions like, what's this? Why would dogs use it? Found it very interesting. Do you need money? All these questions. And, I was like, yeah, I need some money. And he was telling me, well, I'm a venture capitalist, yada, yada. Like I hear people say that all the time. It never goes anywhere. And he said, call me Monday. So I gave him a call. I told him my story, told him my background, all this kind of stuff. And he said, do you have a pitch deck? And I was like, yeah, of course, right? I'm at the farmer's market every day. Of course I have a pitch deck ready to go. And so I sent it to him. And 15 minutes later, he walked into a meeting with Rogers Healy, and that's when I got a call back. Hey, Rogers wants to meet. So I did a pitch to Rogers, then went to his office, told him the whole story, everything that's going on, and told him, but this idea is not. It's a great idea, but we can't sell it as like a can of water. We have to move it more to like a liquid IV style powdered packet. And I've sourced those ingredients. And I think this would be an explosive idea. And he agreed. And so we all kind of co-founded a new business together. And that's how I received capital, but then also relationship capital with an ecosystem of operators and ventures here in venture capitalists here in DFW.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It's been so fun to watch this the development of this, and you go from kind of phase to phase, and you've sort of figured it out, and you're on shelves all over the country, and with more coming on every day, and of course you're available for purchase and shipping and things like that. But I want to go back a little bit to the research piece. You have this idea, you see it working in your own household and with your own pet, but what kind of research went into this solution?
Yeah, so on the military side, a lot of research, right? They would do blind studies against different dogs. They would test the dog's hydration levels in the morning when they first woke up, at night. They would test hydration levels before they went out and worked, after they went out and worked, with water, without water, with electrolytes only, with flavoring only. It was so many different things, right? And so I was just kind of looking through this research and following their conclusions and then drawing some of my own conclusions of how can I make this a natural product, right? Because they were using more of a medical grade hydration solution for the dogs. And I wanted to keep it natural, things that I could pronounce, things that I believe in. And I was kind of just thinking like so long, like, what can it be? What can I combine that dogs are going to love, but also provides hydration and safe and all this stuff? And it was actually my wife who was nursing our child. She was drinking a lot of coconut water and she was drinking it for her own hydration benefit. And I was like, listening to her tell me, and she's like, this is like a super product. Like coconut water is like it's a super ingredient. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And so I gave my dog some coconut water and he licked it up. Like he was happy with it. And then, thinking about like my own experiences giving my dog, like you just feeding your dog like stuff from the table, like pieces of chicken, him licking up the plate, like all this kind of stuff. Like he likes that stuff. And the research was saying that chicken is an excellent flavoring to get dogs to drink more water. So we landed on chicken broth and I just combined the two. That was sort of the very first piece of the research component, right? Was like, hey, these two ingredients are closely related to what the military is doing. Then the second part of the research component is let me go out and begin testing this with other dogs and understanding value propositions and problems that the community experiences, right? Is this something we can commercialize? Is there a marketplace for this? And so that was the sort of business side of the case study, was understanding the marketplace for this and the need.
So you built this on lots of research done mostly by the military, but certainly is a solution that works in humans and is proven to work in animals, which I love. But you mentioned kind of the long customer discovery process that you went down. What's the reception been like from your customers? How have they received Lix?
Yeah, it was so funny because I didn't even know how to, like, my first farmer's market. I was so nervous. I didn't even know how to work one of those square card readers, And I was like, what are people gonna say? You're presenting your baby to the world. Is it ugly? Who knows, right? Like, are you just gonna sit there and not even make a sell? Like anything could happen. And I just had this line, it's like Gatorade for dogs. It's the only thing I could say. And I would just shout it at groups of people as they were walking by because I know 70% of the country has a pet at home. So if you see a group of like 10 people, seven of them are likely to have a pet. And then who's likely to stop and come up to you? That's when I would shout out, we got Gatorade for dogs. And people would just stop and turn and be like, what's that? And then come up and they would start asking me questions. And then from those questions, I would ask them questions like, what type of dog do you have? How old is your dog? Is it active? All these things. And I began to develop a sales script, right? And what was beautiful about selling a product live in person and validating it is you get to see people's reactions. You get to see where their eyes light up when you're telling them about the different solutions. You get to understand their objections and handle it and just move them closer to the sell. And so that was the first step, was like figuring out like the different value propositions people cared about. Then the second step was, do people come back the next week and buy? right? And that was probably even more nerve-wracking than the first week, right? Because the second week is like, I just sold this to them. Are they going to come back and just demand their money back? Are they going to hate it? Are they going to feel like they just got duped? I don't know. And that's not what happened. People came back and bought more. And that was an exciting moment to say, like, wow, okay, I got repeat purchase, repeat customers. There's a foothold here. And that's what just kept me going back week after week and just continuing to learn.
Very cool. So we've talked a lot about dogs, and obviously that's where you've started. That's your sort of minimum viable product. There's a lot of dogs in this country, so it's probably a good place to start. What about cats? Or are there any other animals that may be on the horizon that are either household pets or working animals that you want to try to target?
Yeah, cats, massive market, right? Just as massive as dogs. And it's like almost 50-50 in this country, right? Cats versus dogs. So would love to get into that. It may even be a bigger problem in terms of hydration for cats versus dogs. A lot of people feed their cats wet food, just so they're at least drinking something. And a lot of times they get those like cat fountains that constantly run water through them. It's just difficult to get a cat to drink water. I put a cat on my cans at one point and it wasn't well received. I got a lot of like people coming back and saying my cat won't drink it, all this kind of stuff. So let me know that the crossover wasn't 1-to-1 in terms of the formulation, and that more formulation is needed. So I just stuck with what was working, right? I kind of killed that product line and just said, hey, I can't do both things. Let me just stick with dogs. Another really interesting one is horses. Horses eat a lot of dry food. It's really rough on their stomachs. It's difficult for their digestion, and so hydration with horses or an equine. It's also a place I went with when I did Animal Cloud. I did a lot of research with horses, working horses. Would be another great market opportunity, I believe, for this company.
So, Dylan, I know you're a veteran. Tell me how being a veteran and your military experience has helped you along your own entrepreneurial journey.
Think, like one of the ways it has is it's given me thick skin, right? Like this is not for the faint of heart. This is not for people who can't take rejection. This is not for people who can't hear no. This is not for people that can't take criticism or just deal with what it is, right? And so I think having thick skin from my time in the military and just being in that environment where, I mean, you just get punished, right? Like boot camp, you just get punished. That's your first introduction. And then you think that's the worst. And then you get to actually having responsibilities and maintaining the mission. And then you get some old guys in there who have been in like since the dinosaurs, and they really will rip you apart if you make a mistake. So I think thick skin is a good thing to have, because you'll get in with like venture guys and stuff like that, and they'll say like, okay, gonna take the gloves off now, and it's gonna be real. Can you improve your margins? You're just like, that's it. That was taking the gloves off. That's what you were preparing me for, is a little like, I think your branding could be a slightly different and you're just like, oh yeah, please be candid, right? Don't hold back. So I think, having thick skin, if you can't, deal with that type of criticism, the military was a good way for me to learn how to just deal with people and their opinions.
Okay, so Dylan, you have started this company in Fort Worth, Tarrant County. You have the resources of the DFW entrepreneurial ecosystem at your disposal. But outside of what we've already talked about, what are some of the resources that you have used for your company that you think other Fort Worth innovators should be looking at?
Easy, your equity, your ownership in the company. You should use and leverage your equity as much as possible to get as many people involved in your business as you can, unless you want to do everything yourself, right? Or you got deep pockets to pay people on to do the stuff that you can't do. The greatest resource to me at least, as a business founder, has been my equity and how I distribute my equity to other people to make it meaningful for them to get involved in my business, to get them to wake up thinking about me, to build connections and new partnerships. Before, like, to get to other resources that are more meaningful and more impactful has always been through how can I share and spread the love of what we're doing in Lix with others and get them meaningfully involved in the business.
Very cool. Yeah, that equity can be a powerful motivator because you're going to the moon. That's what I'm going to say. So there you go. You heard it here first. Dylan, I want to go back in time a little bit. Talk about your first company in this space. You had a company that was also focused on working animals and a very different solution, really high-tech solution. But what advice do you have for resilient entrepreneurs who are on their second or their third startup? How do you keep it going? How did you pivot the experience that you had with Animal Cloud into Lyx Hydration?
I'll start with giving the advice, right? The advice is an old thing we used to say in the military, and that's embrace the suck, because this sucks. It's hard, it's painful. It's one of my favorite songs ever, and it's a great line. It's from AC/DC. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, because you will get old, you will get gray, you will get ripped off, you will be underpaid. I promise you. That is going to happen, but that's part of being in a band, right? You're finding community, you're trying to get discovered, but you're also getting beat up and punished along the road. So you have to embrace the suck if you are going to be on your second or third or fourth, or you just want to keep going. It has the highest of highs, and it also has the lowest of lows. This is one of the most difficult things, bringing something to an existence that didn't exist prior, being a sole founder and a leader that needs followers to come along and believe in the product as well and believe in what can happen. You better embrace the suck, because there's going to be a lot of it along the way. And whatever that means, professionally or personally, you're going to get it from both directions. So I guess I'm a sucker for pain, because I just pivoted it into more pain. I think taking an approach of customer validation first, going and validating the problem, making sure that there is some form of product market fit. There are people who will come back and repurchase. There's a community there to support you, and not going into long sales cycles, right? When I could sell a product in 30 seconds rather than 30 months, I was very excited about the opportunity. I think was learning from my past and in technology development, and then pivoting into a consumer product good, and taking the same foundational principles of starting a business and starting up, but executing better.
Love that. Yeah, that's really great. And you're right, it is hard, and to jump back into it is really, really tricky. But kudos to you, and seems like you're having lots of success in this new company, which we're all excited for. So Dylan, where can people find your product today, and how can they stay up to date with what's going on with you and with Lix?
The best place to find our product is on Amazon. Amazon.com. You can try we have 2 SKUs up there. We have a monthly package that's 28 individual sticks in it. We sell that for $35, and then we have a starter pack, like a weekly pack, right? And that's a seven sticks that we sell for $9.99. Both of those come with free shipping. We have both SKUs in beef and chicken, so whatever your dog prefers. And that would be the best place at the moment to make that purchase. You can always come to my website, lyxhydration.com, and purchase off of the website as well. We have the same offering there. But it seems like a lot of people have Amazon Prime, and they enjoy that 2-day free shipping.
No doubt. Yeah. So that's lyxhydration.com. Go check it out and find out if your dog likes chicken or beef better. I think that could be a fun experiment. The question we always ask on the show here is, I want to know what your favorite innovation is in Fort Worth right now.
His name is Eddie Mitchell. He runs a brand called Mr. Picoso, and he was my farmer's market buddy, right? He was next to me. He sells a chamoy style candy. So gummies and mixes and stuff like that with the chamoy, his own blend of chamoy. And this guy is blowing up. He goes everywhere. He was just at the state fair. I've seen him on NBC's Good Morning Texas. It's really impressive to see what he's been able to do with a seasoning that's so a flavor that's so like culturally relevant to him, and he's kept for himself and been able to make and then bring to us, the rest of the broader Texas world and beyond, through different types of candies and stuff like that we're familiar with. So it is awesome, and I love it.
And say his name again, and what's the product?
It's called Mr. Picoso, Posco, and Eddie Mitchell.
Very cool. All right. I hadn't heard of that one, so I love that. And I love that you have a farmer's market buddy. That makes so much sense. Dylan, thank you for joining me today on Fort Worth Innovates. If you like hearing stories about innovation, research, entrepreneurship, and startups in our city, please subscribe and be sure to tell a friend. The more you engage, the more episodes we can bring to you. Fort Worth Innovates is produced by Kendall Rogers. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this podcast, the Fort Worth Tarrant County Innovation Partnership, who are building an innovation district where technology and research combine to build the future right here, right now.